that have never used union labor before use them, especially in some of these instances, and pledge to use them moving forward. But it is about establishing that good working relationship, the open dialogue. And I know it's not easy, but when it works, I believe the workforce, whether it's on the construction side, can be steady. You can bring people from all over the United States, and that there is a real opportunity there. In Kentucky, we've seen our union workforce grow each of the last 2 years. And I think we're going to see it for a.
How much pushback do you get on the union piece? I mean, I assume there are companies that come to you and they look at the state and they say, you know what, maybe I got to think about a state that doesn't have a union.
I haven't had a company bring up right to work in locating in Kentucky. Now, it is the law there, and that could be a part of it. But, you know, I think that what you see are some companies we have. I mean, we have automakers, some of which are not unionized in Toyota. They pay good wages, good benefits. And then you have Ford, which pays good wages and good benefits. Ford has embraced for much of their history their labor union. They believe that it helps recruit and train their workers. Toyota has a different approach, but they coexist in the same state.
We're a right-to-work state. Extremely proud to be in that position. I think that one of the reasons that Arkansas is the #1 state in the country for economic growth is because of that. One of the #1 state in the country that people are moving into in the last year was Arkansas. You hear a lot about other places, but I think that is one of the big drivers for companies that are coming in, not just coming, but staying, investing, and making long-term commitments to our state. And we're proud of that fact, and we'll continue to lean into being a right-to-work state.
I'm curious about what you think about what some people are describing here in Davos as a vibe shift around the topic of ESG.
That's the word of the last 3 years.
Vibes, right? Vibes. No, but a vibe shift, because I would say here in Davos, and you know, I know you said this is your first time
Yes.
here. The topic of ESG and companies that were pursuing efforts in that realm was topic A here every single year. And it feels like that is shifting in the United States, in part because of this election. And I'm curious how you think that's going to impact states and how they react to all of this.
I think you've seen a huge shift away from that, from corporations, not just in the U.S., but everywhere. And I certainly think that is reflected here. At the end of the day, people want to know, can you deliver? Can you deliver on the products that you promise? Are you going to be able to perform at the level that they expect? Not whether or not you're checking some arbitrary boxes. And so I think it is a huge shift that we've seen over the course of the last several years. I think it's one of the reasons Donald Trump is president, because he wasn't afraid to call those things out. He wasn't afraid to go against some of the political correctness and do what he felt was right.
So what's going to happen in your state, for example? I mean, DEI is something, you know, on a federal level, it's just an executive order to get rid of it.
Well, two very different things.
But relates to the...
I've always believed that the private sector is private. And if you believe it helps your business to have a diverse workforce, and you want to put in policies that help attract that diverse workforce, well, again, you're part of the private sector. If you believe it helps you, then the state that you're working with should support you. I believe that sustainability was being driven by the private sector before the Biden administration. It may have had a bump during it, but it's continuing after. Every Kentucky employer that I've met with here has talked to me about sustainability, has said it is still one of their goals. Why? Because their downstream customer demands it, because their ultimate parent company demands it. And for me, if you're a Kentucky business, I'm not ideological about it. I'm trying to meet your needs so that you will stay and grow in Kentucky. If you're a new business and you say, we want to bring 400 jobs to Kentucky, but we need our energy portfolio to look like this. Well, if you think about it almost in terms of business, if you're a state trying to attract it, it's your job to go out and make sure your energy portfolio can meet those demands. Sustainability is going to be a part of the future. It's going to be demanded by most companies that are going to locate in different places. And I want people to know that Kentucky's not going to get caught up in national debates about it. But if it's a need you have as a business, we're going to meet it for you.
If I could just add one thing, I do agree that I think one of the important distinctions is the private sector should be private. That's one of the big problems, is that it wasn't. It was being mandated by the government, and that's where I think that the conflict lies. It is absolutely great if it's driven by the private sector, but the problem comes when it's the government dictating the rules and picking winners and losers. And I think that's where there's a discrepancy and probably a difference in.
But we've now seen these organizations that have been created to go after corporations that have quote-unquote woke policies. Right? Your policies are your policies if you're the private sector. You know, we can have different opinions on it, but if you believe that it's going to help you to, again, have a diverse workforce, if you want to push different equity measures within your business, that's your business.
But isn't it interesting, can I, on this point, isn't it interesting, you know, blue states for a very long time, Democrat majority states, pushed businesses in all sorts of ways on all sorts of issues. And the expectation was that Republicans would never push companies on anything because they were it's supposed to be, you know, believing in a free market, companies should be able to do whatever they want. And all of a sudden, the whole thing has been reversed, right? Do you think that this is in reaction to blue states in some ways going too far? And I'm thinking, when I say blue states, pension funds,
sure,
and others who really push companies into doing things that then there's been this pushback on the other end.
We like to put everything in a box. It makes it easier when you talk about it to have red states and blue states. And certainly on the federal level, sometimes in Congress you see that. But I think the running of states is much more complicated than that. And I think there's a lot more nuances between approaches of governors from the same party. It may be Southern governors have some different approaches. And so I just really encourage you to get to know your governor and where they are. I don't describe myself as liberal or conservative. I describe myself as pragmatic, because as a governor, you have to get results. Right? We need more and better jobs for our people. We need more accessible and affordable health care for our people. We need good, safe roads for our businesses and for our people. We both want our communities to be as safe for our people. And so when you look at those day-to-day, and I think non-political results that we have to secure, even if we go about it differently, it just it doesn't break down the same way.
We're going to run out of time, but I just want to, on a practical level, and Governor Sanders, you didn't sell this, which I thought you were going to, because it's actually the reason I would move to Arkansas, which is she has started a pilot program to address phone use in schools and to effectively keep phones out of schools throughout the day. Just tell us what's going on with that, because I know you did a panel yesterday with Jonathan Haidt, but I'm fascinated by that, and I think that may be reason enough to live there for my children.
Well, great. We're glad to hear that you're moving to Arkansas. If you take nothing away, I hope everybody heard that you're relocating. Look, as a parent, and I'm sure you're experiencing this as well with teenage kids, one of the biggest points of contention that we have at our house every single night is over phones and social media and connectivity. One of the things that we have seen that no one is immune to, Republican, Democrat, U.S. or Europe, is the mental health crisis that is plaguing young people in every single community. And one of the things that we know is directly contributing to that is the constant overuse and accessibility of smartphones and social media. And I think one of the things that we have to talk about and certainly bring a lot more awareness to is what we're seeing in the trends lines. Anxiety, depression, suicide rates are skyrocketing. Not a good thing. And we know that a lot of that is driven in part by that constant accessibility. And so looking for ways that we can help kids take some of that pressure away, also focus more in the classroom and take away some of those distractions has been very successful in our state. We started a pilot program where we asked schools to voluntarily participate in going phone-free. Within the first 6 weeks, 75% of the school districts in our state voluntarily chose to participate. Within the first couple of months, we were tracking progress because I think proof of concept and data is really important. We saw a 51% decrease in the number of students that had drug use in the schools that went phone free. 57% drop in verbal and physical altercations and problems in the classroom where they went phone free. So we're seeing the positive impacts, and we know that the negative impacts are there. And so I think it's a really important topic that we can't ignore and that states can take on a bigger role to address.
We're out of time, folks, and President Trump is going to be speaking very shortly. I know you want to go see that. If he does not succeed in ending TikTok, she might. So we want to thank both governors.
Thank you.
For a great conversation. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best first name in the business.
Best first name in the business. Thank you.